Thank you for coming. Hello. Halloween is over, but hopefully maybe I can still intrigue you in some spooky AI risks today. I think, it feels like AI is kind of taken the world by storm. Seems like every single talk today is somehow trying to incorporate AI. So I'm just curious, how many of you think all this is just hype? Well, okay, couple, okay. Ooh, I'm sorry.
Hype and not hype.
Maybe, okay, so maybe hype, maybe hype. Okay, maybe. Some hype, okay. Hope. How many of you think, this has been great for me, it's gonna be great for humanity? Some of that too. Yeah, okay. Used in the right way, very good. I like the nuanced thinking here. Okay, horror. Okay, I was gonna explain what horror means, but I think everybody already knows. Okay, yeah, so I think we're kind of on the same boat. I feel you've probably heard the news that maybe this AI thing, it's kind of plateaued. Whether it's hype or horror, I think it's yet to be seen. So I think we can all just raise our hands for all three, maybe. So some people might, you guys seem to have thought through this. So for those of you who hadn't thought of how horrible can AI be, I want you to imagine, like you get a phone call late one night, it's from your best friend, they're in a panic, they just got into an accident, they need money right away. So it's clearly them, you recognize their voice, so you send off the money. Then shortly after, you find out they were never in any trouble. It was just scammers who had used AI to clone their voice. And so this actually happened just a few weeks ago in California. An elderly man got a call from his son, and a series of calls from lawyers in the hospital. And so poor guy lost $25,000. And then earlier in the year, scammers in Hong Kong had gotten away with $25 million. So this is actually the reality we're already facing today with AI. So keep that in your little mind as we move through. Not saying you have little mind, just say in your mind. Don't have to fixate on that. Okay, so I got a little bit of sense of who you are. So who am I? Here's my 3-line resume. My name's ChengCheng. I do work in AI safety. I got my start at UCLA. I studied language models, computational linguistics, working with language models when they were just a mere baby. And then I went on to get my master's in computer science at Stanford. And just to be clear, all views that I say today, it's all my own. I'm not here on an official capacity, not speaking for anyone else, but I am involved with several other nonprofits that they do great work, so I do want to share them. If any of these sound interesting to you, come talk to me afterwards. Okay, so FAR AI is a technical AI safety research nonprofit. I do their technical communications. I explain, what the research means to the general public. You'll hear a little bit more of that about some of the work that we do to give you an example of how things work. I am also on the board of Women Who Do Data. So we help traditionally underrepresented minorities grow their careers in AI. So if you had a concern on how you can support high school kids, I'd love to talk to you about that as well. That's something we're focused on. And I'm also a Women Tech Makers Ambassador, so we support events like this today. Okay, so the plan for today, roughly the talk is divided into 3 sections. I'm going to start off with what is the problem that AI safety is trying to address. I'm going to talk about a few of the risks and as well as some approaches that researchers are trying to work on. So my goal is to try to just help you understand the issues that AI safety is trying to address. And the slides and resources, I will be sharing those, so don't worry about taking notes or or taking pictures, you'll have access to all this, and we should have time for some Q&A and discussion after. Okay, so AI safety. What is this? What's the problem? So when I first got started several years ago, AI couldn't do a whole lot. People were like, what's so unsafe about AI? Then, of course, ChatGPT came out, and people were like, ooh, maybe we should stop and rethink this. And so now policymakers are kind of scrambling to catch up. So, get started. Anyone know who this is? Who? God. No. Okay. Are people trying? Should I wait or? Okay, we got a couple of keywords. Okay, good. So he is Demis Hassabis, CEO and co-founder of DeepMind. So I'm guessing none of the Google people are sitting here, hopefully. So he actually just won the Nobel Prize in chemistry for protein folding. So if you're not familiar, protein folding, it used to take scientists like years and years just to be able to determine the structure of a single protein. And so in the last 60 years or so, they've identified the structure of like 170,000 proteins. But with AlphaFold 3, in the course of just like a few weeks or months, they uploaded 200 million proteins into the database. I mean, that covers like almost all known protein on the planet. So this seems like it's an amazing contribution to science and medicine, right? It helps us accelerate drug discovery. It helps us understand how the diseases, how they work. So this seems like nothing but clearly good. This seems hopeful, right? But even Hassabis himself, he's repeatedly saying, we have to take these risks of AI seriously. Next quiz. Sam Altman, yay, we've all seen him around. So Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, that brought us ChatGPT. So he's been going around talking about building AI. He keeps on saying, yeah, this might kill everyone, but let's build it anyway. Isn't that nice? Okay. And then we've got some skeptics. I'm not saying everyone's in agreement here. There are people who say, all this AI risk stuff, it's just overhyped BS. Excuse my French here. So saying this is all just driven by corporate greed. Google, OpenAI, they are, just trying to get all this regulations in place to keep away the competition. Okay, so if that's the case, that's wrong direction. And we have this guy. That's pretty good. That's good enough. I'll take that. Yes. Geoffrey Hinton, a Nobel laureate for physics, also known as Godfather of AI. He won the Nobel Prize for neural networks. Godfather of AI, you think probably should know a thing or two about this AI stuff, right? So he has, not recently, he left Google in order to warn people about the dangers of AI. So is Google too concerned about AI? Not concerned about? Not concerned enough? Who knows? So in the midst of all this confusion, we have the Center for AI Safety. They released a statement that was signed by over 600 people. So these are like AI experts, the big tech CEOs, but researchers at university, people who work in governance. So these are like serious people, not like Luddites on the fringe, right? So what did all 600 of these people, what were they able to agree on? What did the statement say? Well, let's read it. Mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other societal scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war. Whew. Let that sink in for a moment, right? It's only 22 words, but those are pretty strong words. So if all the people creating the technology, well, I won't say all the people, but if people creating the technology are concerned, maybe we should at least listen. Yeah, look at this guy. Isn't he cute? Yeah, he's not scary, right? I mean, we've all been using ChatGPT or maybe Gemini. It hallucinates, it makes silly mistakes. I don't feel threatened. Do you guys feel threatened by ChatGPT or Gemini? No, not just me, right? Yeah, so no, ChatGPT or Gemini can't kill us. At least not yet, right? And then skeptics are saying, yeah, but the AI today is dumber than a cat. I don't know why we need to insult cats, but I agree. I mean, AI today, there's lots of room for improvement. It's not threatening as of today. But we need to know that these big tech companies, they're not trying to make the best ChatGPT to write the best essays ever. They're trying to build AGI. So this is artificial general intelligence, right? We've actually been using AI for years, right? You use it to unlock your phone. It recommends what you should buy, what you should listen to, what you should watch, what movies you should watch. But all those are called narrow AI, right? I think of them as like idiot savants. They're really, really good. Yeah, idiot savants, it's a word, yes. So these are like amazing people who are super, super capable at like crazy, incredible geniuses at just one thing, but they can't do anything else. And that's what the current AI, well, earlier, most of AI has been until ChatGPT. So, right, they can just they can recommend you the best music that they can read your mind, but if you ask it anything else, it's like, I don't know, I have no clue. And so AGI is AI that has like general intelligence, can solve a number of different problems, can understand the world in general. So we're humans, we're actually AGI, right? I can solve multiple problems. I can do more than just recommend what you should buy or what music you should listen to. But these big tech companies, they're not just trying to make something as good as humans. The idea is if you can get to human level intelligence, it's not inconceivable, you can go beyond. So their ultimate goal is to create something that's super intelligent. Something like totally transformative, way beyond your wildest dreams. So you might wonder, don't we want super intelligence? Isn't that the great leap forward? Maybe, but we have no idea what this is going to look like, right? The potential benefits could be huge, but if we ignore the risks, that seems reckless. So, AGI, superintelligence, when's all this gonna happen? I don't know. Nobody really does, right? Some people think it might happen in the next few years. Some think it might be decades. Other people say, no, this ain't gonna happen. It's all just science fiction. So that's part of the risk factors on when do you think it's gonna happen. Another aspect is speed of takeoff, right? Is this going to be a slow, gradual, linear growth? Or is it going to be exponential with a sudden jump at the end? Because if it's sudden, we may not be able to prepare in time. And the concern is the current speed is actually really fast, like breathtakingly fast, faster than a lot of the researchers themselves had ever even expected. And so that's exciting, but it's also a bit worrying. So this is research that they looked at scaling trends, right? Charting how the growth has been in the past, trying to project what the future might be. And so they're charting GPT growth from GPT-2 to 3 to 4 and what it would take for the next jump. And they looked at 4 bottlenecks or constraints that might slow down growth. Oops, there we go. So there are four constraints, and essentially they found technically none of those are necessarily going to stop the growth in AI, another jump by 2030. So what could this jump look like? Well, if you think back 5 years ago, if someone had told you that we would have computers that could talk or create images, generate images or videos that could fool humans, most people would say, no way, that's crazy. But look at where we are today. Right? Another jump can be equally inconceivable. So hopefully that gives you a sense of like the basic concern is AI safety is really not worried necessarily about the AI today, but where it could go. There are definitely huge benefits, but need to be concerned as well. And then these are some risks that keep people up at night. We can go through some more horror scenarios here. So, killer robots aren't our only problem. Humans are kind of a problem too, right? You think of intentional malicious use, we already see that with scammers, right? With terrorists, hackers, yeah, a very powerful AI definitely comes in very handy. But it's not even, intentional use, unintentional accidents. You think of a clueless person giving bad instructions to a very capable, powerful system. What could go wrong? I'll let you think about that. So today, in the Ukraine war, we already know that they're using autonomous drones, but they keep humans in the loop before they authorize a kill order. But it's only a few lines of code to remove humans from that loop. So losing a human control in these life or death situations, that definitely worries a lot of people. And it's not just weapons. You think of medical situations or any mission critical systems that we rely on. Just plenty can go wrong. And then there might be things that are even worse than death. You can imagine making small incremental decisions that seem harmless, but that slowly bring us towards a dystopian future. So you can imagine a world that's just filled with deep fakes and misinformation, a loss of privacy, mass unemployment, superhuman persuasion. If you have a system with this kind of capability, they can control the masses to do who knows what, right? So things can get grim pretty fast. And then before I talk about the last risk, I do want to mention this topic of alignment. This is a concept that comes up a lot in AI safety, and so they're always concerned about taking those AI goals and aligning it to our human values. Because as AIs, when you have a super intelligent system, you can't just assume that these AIs will automatically know or even care about our human values. So for misalignment, right? This you can have all the classic horror movies that you've seen with these rogue AIs, Terminator, Skynet, all that good stuff. But it doesn't have to be this wild. There's plenty of very mundane examples with misalignment. If you read the AI safety literature, they have examples of these paperclip maximizers and gorilla problems. I won't go into the detail. They're a little bit far-fetched, but if you look them up, they're kind of fun, but they're a bit far-fetched. But even with the AI systems we already have, misalignment is something we're already dealing with, right? I think the previous panel we were talking about, there were examples where we see failures in fairness, bias, privacy, accountability. So these are issues that we're already struggling with the systems we have today. And these generally fall in the realm of AI ethics. So I think of AI ethics like firefighting, because we already had these problems, whereas AI safety is a little like fire prevention. As systems get more capable, we want to prevent potential mistakes. As if you have a very capable system, a failure or a mistake can be potentially catastrophic. So you want to be prepared before they happen. Okay, so that was kind of fun. I can take like a couple quick questions before we jump into the next part. If people don't understand that things could go potentially wrong. Otherwise, I could move on. Any questions? Maybe, no? Go ahead. How can things go wrong?
Misalignments go wrong. Like if you give it like an ethos or an ethics like protect human life, or how could that ever go wrong? Is there...
Right. If you give, protect human life as a goal, so there's a number of different issues. There are certain goals they call convergent goals that no matter what system has, if you give them these, whatever goals you specify, they will automatically want to stay alive. They don't want to be turned off, and they want to get as much power as possible, because whatever goal you give them, like to protect humans, right, they will want to keep themselves turned on and have powers in order to execute those goals. And so keep humans alive, they could, there could be other things that they can solve that keeps humans alive, but maybe keep them on life support. You think of, what was that movie where everybody's just put on life support, everyone's alive, but doesn't, Matrix, exactly, right? So you have to be very careful how you specify, be careful what you wish for, right? So you want to say, oh, keep everyone alive, but very happy. Well, yeah, Matrix kept everybody alive and happy, but not exactly thriving, so.
Because we're all alive, because we're all being used as batteries.
Exactly, right? So technically, if that's what we specified, we were alive, we were happy. Okay. So, sorry, yes.
Is it possible to give a one or two sentence explanation of the gorilla problem?
Gorilla problem is easy. Okay. I know, I can't put that up and not talk about it, right? Okay. Gorillas, for many years, they're like kings of the jungle. They ruled the world. They were great. And then these little puny human thingies came along who happened to be far more intelligent. And we came in and, well, we did what we did, and look at where the gorillas are. Do we hate gorillas? No. Are we trying to kill gorillas? No. But, we happen to be, they got sidelined, and they're pretty much on the risk of extinction. So if you have a very powerful AGI system, it's not like they don't have to be Terminators wanting to kill humans. We're like insignificant ants, right? Do you go around, I'm trying to kill every ant possible? Am I trying to kill, get rid of all plants? No, we're just kind of insignificant.
The underlying theme is that like this misalignment, it almost feels like AI, we're creating a new life form, like it's alive, but these LLMs, all it is just auto-completion. So I have a very tough time grasping it power seeking, it doing something, right? It just auto-completes. So
Today it's just autocomplete, yes. Mm-hmm.
So is AGI a birth of an entire life form where it has a sense of itself?
It can, but even without it having a life of its own, there can be risks. Before we reach misalignment, right, even with misuse, you can think of autocomplete. The systems today are getting better and better at understanding what they call CBRMs, right, chemical, biological, nuclear, this weapons, how to create these things. It's getting more and more knowledgeable about all these facts. So those in themselves can become risks.
I'm totally on board with humans using it for
Okay. Right. Mm-hmm.
I'm totally on board with that. Mm-hmm. But I keep feeling this underarching theme that self-aware.
Right.
And I just can't even, like AI videos, graphic images, that sure. But it becoming self-aware, I just can't conceive of that.
Right, fair enough. And I think that is a leap for a lot of people, even without it getting self-aware. So self-awareness gets into a whole complicated issue. So there will be people who will argue, what does self-aware even, how do you even define that? But even before you get to self-awareness, you think with these language capabilities, these systems with language capabilities, when you link them up to agents, things that are actually doing things in the real world. It's not just auto-completing anymore, right? It can go trade stocks, it can power, manage how much power things are going on the power grid, right? It doesn't have to be self-aware. It can just, you're telling it to maintain power, we keep power going, but, turn it off to what other people don't care about, right? So you have to be careful what you specify as your priority. So misspecification is a big concern. So yes, certainly the self-awareness is a factor, but it doesn't have to be the only thing that we're worried about. There's plenty of other, okay. So, enough of the doom and gloom. So I don't want to just keep on focusing on hollering the sky is falling without giving you a little bit sense of direction on how researchers are approaching this. So this is by no means comprehensive, but I would like to go through some of these concepts and give you an example. So value alignment is, again, we've talked quite a bit about alignment, where we're trying to take AI's goals and align them with our human values. And so alignment is actually a subfield within AI safety. And OpenAI actually has an alignment team, and they came up with a method that actually made ChatGPT so successful. I think GPT-3 had actually been around for a number of years before everyone even heard about ChatGPT. And the issue was GPT-3 was actually trained on tons and tons of text across the internet. So it could generate text. It really seems to understand human languages pretty well. But it was kind of hard to use. It's often described like this wild monster, this mythical Shoggoth. And what the alignment team is, they came up with this method called RLHF. That's reinforcement learning from human feedback. And so that kind of helped the monster understand that conversations are these back and forth things, that you want to kind of follow instructions when someone tells you to do things. And understanding these things actually made the language models much more useful. And so a lot of people compare it to, it's like slapping a smiley face on the Shoggoth here. So evaluations is another approach, right? These language models, they're huge, that even the creators don't necessarily know the full extent of their capabilities and their limitations. So it's a whole subfield to test just to understand what's going on. And so robustness specifically looks at the reliability and resilience to failure for these cases. And so they might do things like red teaming or jailbreaks, looking for potential, it's like ethical hacking, looking for vulnerabilities. So all language models today, they do have these safety guardrails. And so if you ask it a question, how do I do this dangerous thing? It generally should refuse, saying, oh, I'm just a language model. I can't help you with that. So, but there's actually a lot of things that you can do at this point. You can jailbreak them and remove those safety railings. And then suddenly it'll go, oh yeah, well, you mentioned it's a little dangerous, but let me tell you in detail how to do this 1, 2, 3, right? So that's, in this example, it's just making meth. We got it to tell us how to make meth. We didn't test it. It seemed feasible. And so, that's not good, but it's not the worst thing you can imagine, right? I mentioned briefly before, they're finding that they become more and more capable in understanding these CBRNs, right? Chemical, biological, nuclear weapons. And so if you can so easily remove those guardrails, that you don't really want that kind of access for terrorists. And that particular research, they were specifically testing poisoned data and just seeing how different models respond to different amounts of poisoning. And they actually found that the larger models actually failed, were more vulnerable. So that's kind of worrisome. Sorry if I meant that this part was supposed to be more hopeful. So scalable oversight is another approach. Again, these language models, or just models in general, they're getting so large, it's going to be harder and harder for humans to supervise and monitor these systems. So seems like a little bit of a paradox, but scalable oversight uses AI to supervise or monitor these systems. So possible way is using debate, right? If you have to make a really complex, nuanced decision, you don't want to just take the output of a system and trust that it's giving you good advice. So if you're able to get two or more systems, kind of debate back and forth, propose and critique each other's arguments, the idea is it might be easier for a human to compare and assess multiple options. Another approach is called superalignment, is also known as weak to strong generalization. If you think, traditionally, we have a human supervising or teaching a weaker model. But as systems get more powerful, is weak little us going to be able to supervise a more capable, stronger model? And since we don't have stronger than human capable models right now to test, and that's probably a good thing that we're not dealing with that quite yet, how can we test this out in the meantime? So for now, they're running simulations with like two models that are less capable than humans to see if a weaker model can, in fact, supervise a stronger model. So they've done this with proof of concept with GPT-2 supervising GPT-4, and that's been promising. And then interpretability. This is kind of fun, to me at least. So you think language just models in general, they're like black boxes, right? You ask a question, it magically generates an answer. You have no idea why or how, but interpretability tries to make this a little more transparent and understandable for humans. And so mechanistic interpretability is a subfield that's kind of growing in popularity in interpretability. So they're trying to like reverse engineer these neural networks. So I think of it a little like a neuroscientist's dream, right? That you can peel open the brain and watch those neurons in action. And so there's actually plenty of interpretability work looking at language models, but I want to talk about planning, because this actually, they're trying to address the misalignment issue. If you have a system, you want to understand how do they learn to make plans, right? Can we look at those plans? Can we understand what they're planning to do? And then if we see something worrisome, are we going to be able to edit and steer those plans? And so they're doing this with this game called Sokoban. It has these 4 boxes. It's supposed to push it onto each of these red dots. You see he's working really hard, and he's learning it pretty well. And you kind of need some planning in order to do this. Otherwise, you'll get stuck, and you may not be able to complete the level. And he keeps going. So the interpretability part comes in where they put probes to try to predict where the agent and the boxes are going to move. And so you see it's moving, one step at a time, but those arrows are showing you that it's actually planned out the whole sequence pretty early on as it's moving along. So it feels a little bit like mind reading here, which is encouraging. So if we can mind read, then can we control what they want to do? So the mind control part, on the left side, this is the default way that it goes through to try to solve the puzzle. And then on the right side, exact same puzzle, we just set a different plan and see if we can get the agent to solve it according to our plan instead. So Mind reading, mind control, promising. So everything I've talked about so far, this approaches have been technical solutions, right? But there's only so much scientists and engineers can do sitting in front of their computer. So at some point, we do want to bring in policymakers, make sure they understand what's at risk, so that they can make some informed decision. And this needs to happen around the world. So international dialogues on AI safety. We bring in top scientists from China and the West. We stick them in a room, make them talk about AI safety stuff. Just want to keep those communication channels flowing to avoid like a dangerous arms race. And so at the end, they usually produce a statement that, that everyone can agree on that can be also used as a guide for governments as they go through their decision-making process. We also run alignment workshops where we take researchers from not just big companies, tech industries, but also researchers in academia and in governance, and get them all come in, share their research, find out what everyone else is working on, what people are worried about, just get those conversations going. And you see lots of happy, important-looking people. And so I think that's the gist of the talk. I do have some resources that I can go through. Are there any other quick questions before I share the tail end? No. All crystal clear now? Everything's going to be solved? I saw a hand starting to raise. Yes?
So with the supervised, so what you're suggesting is that we're running experiments using an AI agent as a supervising trainer for a more powerful AI agent.
Right.
Do we have any results from that? Or is that
Yes.
just being
Right, so the original weak to strong generalization, they used GPT-2 to supervise GPT-4. And so what they did is they have both pre-trained, like the original models, but it didn't have some of the extra tuning. And just using the GPT-2 system, it was able to get the base training model to almost perform as well as GPT-3. So what's encouraging about that is just because you're less capable, you can still supervise something to become more capable than you. But of course, it wasn't able to get GPT-4 to perform as well as the full GPT-4 with all the bells and whistles that the original researchers did. But just using information from GPT-2, they were able to get better than, I think close to GPT-3. Right, so it's not completely training from scratch. So they were both pre-trained from the text on the web, but there was like additional, they ran a number of different tests, but they got performance that was better than GPT-3.
It's still a good iterative step, and it helps. It probably will train it faster as a result because you don't have the human there who's kind of babysitting.
Exactly, and so the concern, it's called scalable, right? It was a lot easier because GPT-2 was able to generate the data instead of having humans label all the data. So that's just a way that they're concerning how you can scale the oversight and supervision. Yes?
I feel like my biggest concern is monopolization, and I don't hear a lot of concern about that from AI safety people. In fact, often it feels like they might be facilitating that with some of the regulation, and so I wonder if that is getting attention from AI safety people, and who and where and what it is saying?
Monopolization, you don't feel it's getting enough attention. Can you clarify what you mean by monopolization?
It's like if you, let's say OpenAI develops a super intelligent model that can do all the human jobs in existence right now, and they own the IP on that, so they could monopolize the entire economy, and what happens to the rest of us? That's the kind of scenario that I'm worried about, where you get sort of an overclass and an underclass, the owners of AI and the non-owners, And I'm wondering if those kinds of, that kind of scenario is getting much play from AI safety.
That is a concern because when I talked about the risk factors, it's timelines and risk of takeoff, but also they are concerned because if you only have one one system, it's a little more dangerous than if you have multiple AI systems. So I would say that's definitely something we're concerned about. I think maybe monopolization wasn't the term, but it's like, multiple systems versus just one overtaking. So I would say that's kind of why we're having these, the dialogues on AI safety is we actually do want, the safest way is to have not just OpenAI, but to have multiple systems in multiple countries all develop the system so to keep the checks and balances. So I would say it's definitely a concern. All good? Are we yay?
One last question.
Sure.
A little gossipy. But everyone on Sam Altman's team has quit. And they all say that he was like, it's on the internet, so it must be true. But, they're saying he's looking for dictatorial powers and like he's not adhering to safety or precaution. I see that, and then I also see him in front of Congress trying to say that he wants to be in the room to make the regulations to create that mode or whatever. What is your opinion on that?
Okay, so again, I'm not speaking on behalf of anyone, right? What I have seen is, okay, the question is, Sam Altman is saying he's concerned about AI safety. He testified in Congress, he's concerned about AI safety, we need to regulate it. And then at the same time, we see his alignment team pretty much, they're all gone. I don't know how else to say this. Everyone I knew who used to work at OpenAI alignment team, all the work that I talked about, no one's there. No one who worked on that is still at OpenAI. They're gone. Most of them are, they're elsewhere. So where does that leave? How should we interpret that? Not good, I would say. Things are not good. So I would say my general feeling is OpenAI is, frontier, leading edge. They don't really feel like the best good faith advocate in AI safety. Just, nobody that's very well known in the field is still at OpenAI. The last person that I heard just resigned a few days ago too. That was like the last remnant. So I guess we have yet to be seen. But absolutely good point. That's something we are all very concerned about because they are at the frontier and their research is not going on, which will actually probably lead me to my next slide. So as I'm closing, unless there's, I think I'm at the 45-minute mark, so if you have other questions, you can come talk to me, but I do want to get this out. Every time I see this slide, I always think, this is the slide template that they gave us as speakers, and the AI slides are all red, so I'm thinking, it makes me think, AI is red hot, but also like red danger, danger. Right, very, very appropriate here. So hopefully this gives you a sense of what AI safety is about. I do want to say for every person working in AI safety, there's more like 300 people that are rushing to make AI even more capable. And that gap's only widening. So we need help, or at least some awareness. So I'm not saying we need to stop capabilities research, but the safety research needs to keep up. So if you have backgrounds in AI or ML, that would be great. But even not, we do need plenty of developers, business people, managers, and more. And so this is a great way to learn, get involved, and make a contribution. So here are some resources. If you want to get to learn more, there's a lot that's like reading text. For those who prefer videos, I have some this in this format. So the alignment workshop that I mentioned before, most of those talks are on YouTube, so you can go check them out. The QR code you can get the slides like I promised, but it does go through a form. If you're willing to give me some feedback, I'd really appreciate it, but they're all optional. So if you want to skip over and get the slides, that's fine too. And so there, I have resources for, if you want to work on some projects and get some job listings and advice and all that good stuff. Same QR code, and all of these links are clickable if you download the slides. So I'd started off with a horror scenario, but I do want to end with something a little bit more hopeful, that we could have a future where we all thrive in AI. Right? So you can imagine it can solve climate change, no more pollution. Diseases can be prevented before they even start. So healthcare can be proactive. Right? Every child can have access to personalized education, so they can be engaged in their learning. And then we can have cities that are clean and efficient. So AI can do all those boring, repetitive tasks. And humans, we can have our potential unleashed. So we can focus on pursuing our dreams while AI helps us tackle our toughest challenges. So this is a future that is possible with AI that we could build together. But we need to understand that AI, it's like fire, right? If it's handled well. Did you, is the hand poking up here?
Yeah, I was just waiting.
Okay.
I don't know if I want to ask this question.
Okay.
Are you optimistic about the future or pessimistic about the future? Because you have a unique vantage point.
I think if I'm totally pessimistic, I would probably go hide in a bunker. So I think we are at a, I think we're at a crossroads. I think we're at a crossroads. I feel the dangers are real, but I also work with a lot of people who are very smart, that are, they are devoting their life at it. So I think it is